Welcome to episode 533 of the Grit to Greatness Endurance podcast. We are your hosts, coaches April Spildy and Lauren Brown, and we are on a mission to help endurance athletes train smarter, race stronger, and build the grit it takes to achieve greatness. Tonight, it is just the girls holding it down. We are sending our warmest wishes to Coach Rich and his daughter Lauren, who is celebrating her match day. We want to send a special congratulations to Lauren on her selection to the OBGYN program at UNLV. We couldn't be more proud. I know Rich is proud, and we're sending all the good vibes their way. Coach Lauren, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. And I have to say, huge congrats to Lauren, who also goes by Law. Her and I both go by Law, which I love. And it's been great seeing Rich post his excitement about what she's achieved and her match day. So super high there. And we're here together. So of course
We're here.
I'm having a good day.
Happy weekend. Also, this is going to be, I was telling Lauren before we jumped on that it has been incredibly beautiful here in Colorado Springs. I can't wait for her to come out for our camp. It has been high 70s pretty much all week. And oh my gosh, it feels heavenly.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm Northeast. We're still flirting with getting into the 60s. So we're almost there, but
almost there.
But all good. So we got a couple of announcements we'll jump into going on. So if you haven't checked out our events calendar page on our website, jump over there. You can see all the things that are going on in the Grit to Greatness community. We will have a replay ride tomorrow morning since Rich is away. And then we'll pick up with our live sessions starting Tuesday next week, 6 a.m. Mountain Time, Thursday, 6 a.m. Mountain Time. So join us live when you can. You can grab a free 2-week trial. The program is $79 per month, and our Grit to Greatness Premium and our ambassadors do get 25% off of the monthly rate. Velocity, which we've been a little obsessed with because it's a great platform. It does help athletes develop shifting cadence, smoother pedal strokes, and power control. And like we said, we have the 3 live classes, Saturdays, 8 a.m. Mountain Time, which is a 90-minute ride with Coach Rich. Tuesdays, 6 a.m. Mountain Time, 60 minutes with myself, triathlon focused ride. And then Thursdays at 6 a.m., 60 minutes with Coach April. Mountain bike focused, which will eventually lead us into our Ask a Coach segment today, which I'm really excited about for our athletes listening. Check in with your coach if you're curious about the discount. Otherwise, you can grab your free trial or subscribe through the link that is in the show notes.
And thinking and talking about events we have coming up, we want you to check out on March 24th. We are hosting a free webinar on one of the most underrated but most critical performance makers in endurance racing, and that is hydration and nutrition. So we're going to teach you how to determine your sweat rate across different temperatures and intensities, how to figure out the sodium concentration of your sweat. That sounds lovely.
I'm a salty sweater.
Yeah. And how to replace those electrolytes effectively on race day. Plus, we'll break down your carbohydrate needs and introduce the concept of metabolic flexibility. So if you want to take the guesswork out of fueling, mark your calendar for March 24th. That is coming up next week. We would love to see you there. And as Coach Lauren alluded to fabulously, we are going to talk all about how in the world do we actually make our indoor rides mimic what it's like to be on a mountain bike. So we're going to dig right in. And I love this one because I not only teach these courses, but I live what I preach, right? So the things that I'm learning and teaching in Velocity are absolutely translating over into my trail rides and experience as a mountain biker. So I'm very excited to jump into this. If it sounds like this shouldn't be true, Let me bust that myth for you, because even though you're on a fixed bike, there's no rocks, no roots, there's maybe no fear factor, although I will say it can be a little fearful when you're doing some massive surges on a trainer, no lie. You can still apply exactly what you're doing from a trainer's perspective into a mountain bike ride. So, if none of this connects, we're going to challenge you. If you understand what you're actually training indoors, the transfer is not only real, it is powerful. So, Coach Lauren and I are going to break this down into what actually does transfer over and what doesn't.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I actually proposed that we talk about this to Coach April because she is somebody, if you don't follow her on social media, follow Coach April Spildy on social media, because she'll post like her rides. And I have not done mountain biking. So for me, I'm always intrigued by it. And I know it's something that can transfer even to like, more technical skills and confidence racing triathlon as well. So
Fair warning,
one of the
Coach
bikes
Lauren,
in the
I've got to
future.
say.
Huh?
Yeah, fair warning. Once you go mountain bike, you never go back. I just got
Uh-oh.
to say it.
Like my pink QR will be very upset because I've been curious about it, and I love hearing about your rides on velocity. And it is something I think that people here, like, because mountain biking feels so much more technical, aside from just riding arrow or upright on the bike and understanding your power, there's a lot of other things that come into play. So I think, an important thing to cover is what transfers directly. And this is really important for everyone who's listening, whether you do ride mountain bikes or you're like me and you're like mountain bike curious, like this is important for you to understand as well. So, indoor training is one of the most efficient ways to build your engine. So, we're talking about sustained power, cadence control, muscular endurance, repeatability under fatigue. And if you think about mountain biking, especially Xterra style racing, what are the things that you need, right? You need to be able to climb hard and do so repeatedly. You need to recover just enough and then be able to go right back to it and handle constant changes in effort. So that's exactly what structured indoor riding builds. When you're doing intervals, over unders, or even cadence work on the trainer, you're literally training your body to handle the demands of the trail. So when you hit that long climb outside, it's not your legs that fail first. It's usually your confidence or your technical skill. And I would say it's like, again, no matter what you're training for on the trainer, whether it's hard efforts on the trainer, in the pool, in the run, it's like the more you do it in training, when you experience it in in racing or in real life, it's like your brain is like, oh, we've been here. We know this, you know?
Exactly right, and that's the beauty behind understanding that this is an applicable skill when we talk about sustained power and effort, and then learning how to recover after a surge. That's one of the things that we really hit hard in the velocity rides is surging and then basically no effort going to zone one, right? Which is a lot of what mountain biking is. And also learning how to do that from different positions, whether that's seated or standing. It's understanding how traction works,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you're staying rubber side down when it is hairy out there. And that is also one of the things that we want to make sure that people understand that don't always transfer automatically, right? So we're going to be real about this next part because this is where people can get tripped up. Indoor riding does not automatically give you all the bike handling skills, especially on a mountain bike. Doesn't show you how to choose a line properly when you're riding down or riding a trail, right? It doesn't necessarily give you all of the balance and body positioning you need when it comes to how to slice a trail, how to get through gravel, how to navigate pebbles and rocks and roots. And it doesn't always give you the confidence you need to actually manage that technical terrain. So that's where that outdoor ride comes into play. And Coach Lauren and I talk about this a lot. Usually athletes, cyclists, mountain bikers, triathletes, wherever you're on the spectrum of endurance, if you're riding a bike, usually an athlete is on an indoor trainer at least one time per week. And you can absolutely dedicate those rides to building the strength and endurance you need that applies to whatever your craft is. So this applies to mountain bikers as well. The other part of this is having that one ride, at least one ride per week, if you can be outside. Especially, I know that there's folks that live in winter environments. It's not always easy to get out on a trail when there's snow, and we don't encourage that either. But if you have the ability to balance both, it can go a long way in your training. So you don't learn how to corner on loose gravel from your living room. You don't you don't learn how to descend a rocky trail at speed from erg mode. So if you only train indoors and never practice outside, you're going to feel strong, right? But honestly disconnected. And this is always how it happens for me, Coach Lauren. Whenever I'm coming off a long, say 2-3 months because it's winter, and I do my first outdoor ride, mountain bike, I notice it right away. Like I notice it in my shoulders because you get the pump from the trail itself. And then it takes a minute to relearn how to corner, how to pick a line, how to look ahead, not look down when you're riding, how to navigate trails. So give yourself the opportunity too to come back when you are in the off season, when you're coming back into your outside time. Give yourself the opportunity to relearn those skills so you're not just blasting down trails thinking you got it in the bag, because we don't want you to go head over handlebars on any of these activities. So
Yeah. But when I used to ride a dirt bike, so not the same thing as mountain biking, but I used to ride a
that's
dirt bike.
badass.
So, but when you talk about mountain biking, it reminds me of when I used to ride a dirt bike. And just what you were saying, even still, like if you don't ride for a while, like, I mean, obviously there's a motor, right? There's like that it's going to make your like hands pump a little bit more. But I used to like get itchy up my arms from it. So it's like all these little things that can impact how you're riding and how you feel.
Absolutely.
So, but
you hit it on the head, Lauren. That is such a good point because it is all these stabilizing muscles. It's the feel of adrenaline too. Mm-hmm. Like if you haven't had an high octane workout in a while where you're full send, mm-hmm. it throws you off, and you have to reintegrate, readjust, and adapt to what that's like too. So absolutely, this has applications on both sides.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's bridge between the two. The real question becomes, right, how do we bridge indoor fitness with outdoor execution? And this is where you want to have intentional training, right? When we coach athletes, especially inside our velocity sessions, we're not just chasing watts. It's really easy to be like outdoors sometimes when you're riding and all you're thinking about is like, how much power am I pumping? Or even on an indoor trainer, sometimes that's all you're looking at is the power, the power, the power. But you want to be building awareness around what's happening when other things are happening, what's causing different things to go on. So you're going to get cued to things like cadence changes that might mimic actual terrain shifts, seated to standing transitions, power surges that feel like those short, punchy climbs that you're going to get mountain biking, and then controlled recoveries, like Coach April was saying, like going to zone 1 and finding what really, simulates that trail flow. So even though you're inside, the intent, the way you're changing between your cadence, seating, standing, power surges, that intent is outdoor. So you're not just riding, you're actually rehearsing, and you want to have that mindset that that's what you're doing when you're on the bike doing these mountain bike focused sessions. So that when you go outside, like we said earlier, your body now starts to naturally recognize the effort patterns that are going on. And it's like, oh, I've been here before. And that familiarity, that's what actually builds confidence and translates indoor to outdoor.
Yes. And that is exactly what we're doing in these rides too, Lauren. Like when I did my ride on Thursday, pop rocks, pebbles and pop rocks. Mm-hmm. Yes. We went from a zone 1 to a zone 6, right? Because it is a surge like that. It literally feels like that. You could be soft pedaling 1 second and then boom, you get a tree branch or a rock garden that's ascending, and it requires you to put the pedal down,
Mm-hmm.
and also learning how to transition back and forth. So big time familiarity and confidence building. And if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, but how do I actually apply this? Here's what we want you to do. First, you're going to keep those indoor rides. Don't abandon them, because that is where you're going to build that consistent, sustained strength. Second, you're going to layer in your outdoor skill sessions. And we want you to treat these differently. So if your outdoor rides are not necessarily about crushing watts. They're about confidence, handling skills, flow, and learning how to manage what it's like to be uncomfortable, right? When you're dealing with adrenaline, when you're dealing with someone who's trying to pass you, when you're dealing with a rattlesnake that shows up on the trail, all those things, right? So learning how to manage your emotions and how you react while also finding that great line. So the third thing here is connecting the dots. When you're indoors, we want you to ask yourself, what would this feel like if I was on the trail right now? And actually, when I teach my courses, Lauren, I even talk about trails that I've been on that
Mm-hmm.
this applies to, right? So this next part reminds me of the Falcon Trail at the Academy because it has this steep climb, da 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 da, right? So it's a it's fun because you can visualize, and that's the beauty of this too. If you need help with visualization, join us because we're gonna really hone that in and make it work for you so you understand this is what it feels like when you're on loose gravel.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it feels like when you have to stand up and sit down so you don't lose the track on a sandy area. So when you're outside, this is going to help you recognize that you have this in the bag, you've trained for this, and then you know how to adapt to when your cadence changes and how to navigate terrain.
And the mindset shift that we really want you to think about, that this is the biggest takeaway, that indoor riding builds the athlete, outdoor riding reveals the athlete. I love that. I love that line. It's like, it just feels like so empowering. Like you build it indoors and then like, let me show you what I got. Let me
Oh,
reveal to all of you the athlete that I am. Just how
yes.
powerful, April. I like that.
Yes. Thank you, Lauren.
So if you rely on just one, you are leaving performance on the table. But when you combine the two, that's where things start to click. You stop feeling like you're just surviving the trail and you start riding it with intention.
Mm. You got to come out and do Xterra Lori with me sometime. That's a great one for folks that are just getting introduced to off-road triathlon.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I did have Rich join me last year. This poor man did break a rib.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, we're still friends. Yes,
Oh my
even
gosh.
though he's not here, we did recover from that
Oh my
mishap.
God.
But yeah, it unreal how much fun it can be, but also like it is a higher stakes at times, right?
Yeah.
So when I say adrenaline fueled, that is, if you're an adrenaline junkie, come over to the dark side with me. I promise we're going to have a good time. So we have
2027, the year that La
2027.
does Xterra.
Oh, please. And because I know how strong you are, La, if you really latch onto this, like the Xterra World Championships are running for 3 years in New Mexico, Rio Doso, and it's one of the best courses. And I would love to do that with you. So
Okay. All right.
put a
We are
pin in that dream.
putting that one
Yes.
in the universe right now.
I love it. I love it. So we talked about this a little bit already as far as how this applies in a ride, but I do want to lay it out here what it means, right? So let's say that we have on paper a 30-30. So you have a 30-second zone 6 and then you have a 30-second zone 1, for instance, like we talked about.
Mhm.
What I'm coaching you through in that moment is very different than just hitting those numbers. So I'm telling you, all right, this is your short climb. You just hit a steep pitch. I want you in the saddle, strong, controlled, don't spike and fade. Then we settle down. Now you're back on the trail. Sit in it, find your rhythm. This is where you recover, but stay engaged because we're going to hit another one. Rinse and repeat. And what you're doing without even realizing it is you're building the exact rhythm of what mountain biking is like. It's surge, and settle. Or we can take a cadence focused ride. So a lot of my rides too, Lauren, are sometimes in the cadence zone of 65 RPMs, 75 RPMs. It can be as high as 100, 110, but they shift a lot just based on the focus of the ride. So that's another great way to develop those skills on learning how to manage when you have to drop down and mash a little bit,
Mhm.
and manage what it's like to also spin and keep traction. So this is how we teach you to ride over roots, rocks, and uneven terrain. And the smoother your pedal stroke, the more control you're going to have outside.
I love it. So bringing it home one more time, you guys, that yes, you are indoors, but if you're riding with intention, if you're listening to those cues that Coach April is giving you on those mountain bike rides, if you're visualizing the terrain, you're not just getting fit, you're practicing how to ride. And that's the difference. Anyone can sit on a trainer and push those watts, but when you start layering in purpose, when every interval has a Y tied to the trail, now your indoor ride becomes a rehearsal for race day.
You get to reveal that athlete.
Yes, Coach April, thank you so much for all of that goodness for mountain biking. And now, you guys, when the end of this season rolls around and you start seeing me post about mountain biking, you can reference this podcast and know
Yes.
why.
I'm bringing her over, folks. She has joined the cult that is
No,
mountain biking.
going to the dark side.
I love it. No
Oh my
regrets.
gosh. All right. Well, shifting gears a little bit, we're going to move on to our get gritty tip. And I think this is something that people we don't always think about, but might end up resonating with our listeners, whether you are an endurance athlete or not. And this is the idea that you don't have to do this alone. All right. So, it's something that might challenge a lot of us. The idea that being a strong athlete means being completely independent, that you're able to do everything on your own. You can change your tires, you can master your recovery, you can dial in your nutrition, you can handle daycare, you could do everything. And you are fine figuring it out yourself, not needing help. Because if we're being honest, a lot of people like to wear that badge of honor. But we're going to invite you to reframe the mindset and have this shift that whether you're an endurance athlete or you are a, business person or a parent, independence isn't the goal. And it's also independence is not the opposite of dependency, right? The real goal is what actually makes you a stronger athlete is interdependence, knowing when to push on your own and when to lean on the right people. And this isn't just, mindset talk. Research does actually support this idea.
Yeah, let's bring in that research. So there is a lot out there that shows that athletes with strong support systems are one, more consistent, two, more motivated, and three, are less likely to burn out. And I can speak anecdotally, that is true for me, that this right here, having you and Rich and our community has been everything for me to be consistent, to be more motivated, and to love what we do. So that support actually acts as a huge buffer against stress, which is what happens in endurance sports. We're always stressing our body and putting ourselves through these almost like experiments, if you will, to get us to go to a higher level of performance. But if you're consistently feeling fried, overwhelmed, and stuck, like you're not going to perform. It's going to essentially take you out of the fight. So we want you to look at that. It might not be your training. It might be that you're trying to do everything alone. So when you think about triathlon, we know it's considered an individual sport, right? But it's so much more than that when you can bring in the people that lift you up, right? And one of my favorite quotes is a Jim Rohn quote that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Yep.
And if you think about that community, right, and how people either feed into you or they pull from you. And if you got a good group of people that feed into you, that motivation, that love, if you will, for this will continue to burn bright. And the tie in here is understanding that there are a lot of people, a lot of athletes that think if I need help, I'm not as strong. But the research literally shows the exact opposite. Support helps build confidence, resilience, and mental toughness.
Yep. And so there are a couple books. I'm going to just highlight three of them that I think we both may have read all three.
I
And
got the biggest smile right now, Lauren. I love this. I love this.
if you don't have these books in your library, or if you have not read them yet, make a mental note of them, because these books will also lean into research. So if you want to look for some, studied facts and information
Got it
from
back.
people who have been in, like, really, like, endurance sports, business, all the things. So three books that we're going to highlight, even though I'm sure there are many, many more we can, but these ones resonated with me. Brave Athlete, that one's by Simon Marshall and Leslie Peterson. I have the audiobook, and I love the audiobook because their accents and the way they talk crack me up, because they do curse quite a bit too. But they have a lot of information in there, though, that it's a lot about, like, mindset, and being able to, like, calm the F down is actually, I think, part of the title is the Brave Athlete, like, calm the F down. So it's all about managing your mindset, your thoughts, your environment. You're not expected to just white knuckle everything alone. The other book is Endure by Alex Hutchinson. And this is really another great book where performance isn't just physical, it's influenced by perception, environment, and what's happening around you. And then another one, which will definitely speak to our hearts here, is Grit by Angela Duckworth, because she goes into how, people think grit means doing it solo, but it's really about sustained effort over time, and support is what allows that to happen. So if the idea of I have to do this alone to prove something is kind of stirring around in your head, it's just not how high performance actually works.
That's such a great point. And this is where community comes in, whether that is your triathlon club, a training group, an ambassador team like Grit to Greatness. It it brings so much, right? You get accountability, shared experience, perspective, and honestly, awesome, awesome energy. And when training can be in a vacuum, it can only take you so far. So having that community really goes above and beyond when it comes to longevity in this sport. So we also want to point out family and friends. This is where people can get uncomfortable, right? Because it can be, like you said, that badge of honor, right? People, I don't want to burden my family. I don't want my friends to feel like they have to do this, or if they're not interested in this, I don't want to burden them, so I'm going to do it on my own, right? But that again sets you up for short-term burnout, long-term failure, right? Because failure is the failure in that you don't stick around. It becomes too much, and that support is not there, and you don't have the infrastructure to keep it going. So asking for help, letting people in. And if you're trying to juggle training, work life, and family, you're not meant to carry all of that alone. Man, I'm hoping my mom's listening to this. She,
Mhm.
I know I go on a tangent here, Lauren, but
Yeah.
she had all four of us girls by the time she was 23, single mom, powerhouse. And she did wear that independence like a badge of honor, and she couldn't do it forever. And I'm so glad that she understands and accepts our support and love and help. But it took a long time. And you're not meant to carry it alone. And sometimes being stronger, whether that's as an athlete, as a mom, as a business person, it looks like saying, hey, I need help. I need help here. Whether that's help with the kids, flexibility in your schedule, or just, hey, I need an encouraging word.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make you weak. That's what makes you last. That's where longevity comes in, and that's sustainable.
Yeah, I think like we sometimes get so nervous to ask for help. And this, I feel like I've said this line repeatedly, even just within our own conversations, where if you don't ask, the answer is no.
Mm,
So it's like, ask for help. Most people want to do more for you than you realize. So it's it's us just getting out of our own way, and right, our the people who love you and care about you probably want to help you, especially if you're working towards this big goal. I mean,
mm,
and sometimes it comes from people you're not expecting. It's not always your family, it's your friends, or moving on to the next point, it might be your coach, right? So the other thing that when it comes to not having to do it all is that coaches need coaches. And I think that is something important for any of the coaches listening to this, that, or if you're a really experienced athlete, because I didn't have a coach, like a consistent coach for a while. And I was like, oh, I'm doing well enough and whatever reasons I made up in my head. But what a difference having a coach, right?
mm,
And again, even if you're an experienced athlete and you grew up doing sports, like having that outside perspective and having somebody to lean on is so important. Because when you're in your own head, you're dealing with your own training, you start to lose objectivity. And that's where mistakes happen. I am 1,000% guilty of doing this, where doing too much. I'm usually not guilty of not doing enough. I usually just go more, 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 or letting emotion drive decisions.
hmm
Another example, I'm just going to call on myself. Like when I was dealing with my knee issue, I would get like emotional and upset and be like irrational with all the things that are going to go wrong if I'm not doing enough. And having somebody that can talk you off the ledge and talk to you rationally instead of emotionally with important decisions is really, really important. And having a coach, having a guide can help give you structure, clarity, and sometimes, like I said, like a very much needed reality check on what
mm.
needs to be happening.
Yeah, it's such a great gift to have someone objective who can step outside of those real deep seated feelings of whatever the story is that you're telling yourself, right? And actually say, no, the evidence doesn't show that you are lazy or that you are phoning it in or that you are a failure or that you're not going to recover. Like, look at all this
Yeah,
that we've already gotten through. Look at all the evidence to show that you will. This is a setback, but it's not a road. It's not a dead end.
right.
And I love that, Lauren. I love that you have that relationship as well with your coach, and that you are on the other side now. And
Mhm.
I want to give you the kudos there too. That was, I know that was tough, but you definitely showed a resilient mindset through this. And that brings us to our point here, our last point with our get gritty tip, and that is mental support. So this is one piece that might not get talked about often enough, and that is what it can look like to get mental support from a specialist, whether that is a sports psychologist, an experienced mentor, or truly taking on some mindset work of your own, like those books that we talked about earlier. A lot of the I need to do this alone mindset isn't physical, it's internal pressure. And learning how to shift that narrative can completely change how you show up.
So if you take one thing from this conversation, let it be to stop trying to prove you can do everything alone and start asking, where would support actually make me stronger? Because the strongest athletes we know aren't the most independent. They're the ones who've built the best support systems around them. Independence might feel like it's strong, but support is what actually sustains performance.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Coach Lauren, way to bring it with the get gritty tip tonight. Goodness.
Yeah, it's been on my mind.
And it's a living example too, which again, that's what's, to me, that is what makes this real, is that we're not just talking airy fairy. We're giving you real examples of what it looks like to maneuver through independence to interdependence and learning how to ask for help. So thank you. Thank you, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The ladies are bringing the heat tonight, and we are going to finish strong. I don't know if you're watching on YouTube, you might see there's a lot of green going on in my space, and I did that intentionally, Lauren. And I don't see any green in your space, so
I know.
you get to
I'm like,
pinch yourself.
it looks blue, actually. Never mind.
Yeah. So go ahead and give yourself a pinch for me. But we are going all in on St. Patty's Day theme with our fun segment. I'm calling this segment Luck of the Try-ish.
All right. I'm ready.
Thank you for laughing at that. All right, Lauren, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, we're going to bring a little Irish luck to triathlon, or at least test whether triathletes are actually lucky or just stubborn enough to keep showing up. So I'm going to throw out, this is going to be in a little bit of a triathlon fashion. I got a couple of, different segments for us, but I'm going to throw out some race day scenarios first. And you're going to tell me, is this luck or just par for the course? So our first scenario, you drop your chain and it magically pops back on.
I mean, I'm going to have to say that's luck.
Agreed. Have you ever had that happen?
When I was riding, one of the first few times when I was riding outdoors by myself, and I was going up a hill, and so I just shifted too fast and it popped off, and I was on a pretty steep hill, so I couldn't get my bike situated, and I was very unhappy. It did not magically pop back on. But it's happened. I also, at the start, it didn't pop off while I was riding, but somebody must have knocked my chain off my bike in transition, and I didn't realize until I was going to mount. And so I had to
oh no.
Yeah, I was like, what the frig?
Oh no.
But neither time did it magically just decide to get back on. So
I definitely think that's luck of the Irish there. Yes. All right. You forget your nutrition, but there's your exact gel at an aid station.
I mean, if it's Ironman, I'm going to say that's par for the course.
Yes. Good. Okay. It starts pouring rain, but you PR anyway.
So this is funny. I would say luck, but I feel like that's one of those things that's par for the course, because you're of course, I'm so stressed out, and I'm but everything ended up going just fine. So that's I'm going to go that's par for the course, just because that's just how it ends up happening.
Yeah, I agree. And it's always a great story. So I never get mad at the weather, because it's always either, well, I had an awesome day or I had a crazy day, but let me tell you what happened. It's just, It's flavor. You get a lot of flavor. All right, we're going to switch it up. Let's say you found a pot of gold at the end of your next race. What is the one thing you traded in for in triathlon?
I mean, I would, as much as the gold could possibly cover, race 70.3 in multiple countries.
Oh, yes. Yes. Great choice. I'm going to go through a couple here with you too. And you tell me of this list, because I actually want to hear this too. Okay. All right. So if you were given a pot of gold, here's some options that you have to pick one. Okay. A perfect swim with zero contact, a tailwind the entire bike, legs that never fade on the run, flawless transitions, or unlimited endurance. There's no bonk ever. Oh, so you never bonk again.
I mean, never bonking again is pretty sweet. But so that's definitely my answer. But before that, you had me at a tailwind on the entire bike.
Oh, I know. I was thinking that too. I definitely would go with the no bonk. I mean, that is the detriment of a lot of folks. So
yeah. No bonk for sure. And yeah. Close second with the tailwind.
Yeah, very close. So I'm going to give you a St. Patty's Day blessing. But in all things endurance, there's a catch.
All right.
So you got to tell me which one you would pick here. All right. So you always have near perfect weather, but it's always slightly too hot. You never cramp again, but you also can't sprint.
Oh.
You nail every swim, but your goggles leak every time. And your bike is flawless, but you hit every red light in training.
Oh my God, wait, what was the first one?
You always have near perfect weather, but it's just slightly too hot.
I would go with number one.
Okay.
What was number two again? Because I feel like I had a story for that one.
Oh gosh. You never cramp again, but you also can't sprint.
Oh, I know what my story was. I have dreams all the time where I can't run fast. Like I am like almost like running like I'm like a gorilla almost trying to get up to speed. I swear to God, it happens all like it's been like a recurring dream, and I like cannot.
That's a nightmare,
I
Lauren.
know it's like it's so stupid, but I literally I'm like almost running like I'm like a gorilla, like trying to like chase. I'm trying to pick up speed, and I cannot go fast. Worst dream ever. So
Oh.
I definitely like don't want that. Number
Well,
one.
let's hope that we never run into a leprechaun that bestows that St. Patty's Day blessing on us, because good Lord. Lauren, thank you for playing this version of Luck of the Try-ish. And you know what's funny? The longer you stay in the sport, the more you realize luck has a lot less to do with it than you think. We talk about consistency. Consistency can look like luck. Preparation can look like luck. Showing up when it's hard, that's what creates those lucky race day moments.
I love that. Wait, what was your answer real quick to the last one?
Oh, great. I think that because I hate too hot weather. I couldn't do that one. I think never cramp again, but I also can't sprint. I know that sounds crazy,
Oh,
but
well, you know, you
I
didn't
would.
have my dreams, so you weren't
No, I don't have your nightmare fuel.
nightmare. Goodness gracious. But
That's good.
that was great. Shall I do our Vespa ad read? All right.
Let's bring it
So
home, baby.
bring it home. Get Gritty sponsor Vespa Power, which did fuel my CSS test today. So thank you very much. Vespa Power Endurance helps you tap into steady, clean energy so you stay strong, focused, and in the zone longer. Vespa is not fuel, but a metabolic catalyst that shifts your body to use more fat and less glycogen as your fuel source. Vespa comes in CV25, junior, and concentrate. Less sugar, higher performance, faster recovery, home of Vespa Power products, optimizing your fat metabolism. So you can use discount code 303 endurance 20 or no, use code G2G Vespa 15. And then that link will also be in the show notes.
Yes, they both work. The 303 Endurance 20 is for a single purchase. So make sure that's 20% off. So use that one wisely. And then the G2G Vespa 15 is recurring. So definitely want you to check it out.
Thank you.
Yeah. We want to say thank you for spending time with us today on the Grit to Greatness Endurance podcast. Lauren, I loved hanging out with you. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow us and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. It helps us reach more athletes like you. Stay gritty, train smart, and keep chasing greatness. We'll see you next week.